you as a man are not going to be a very adequate leader, provider, protector, teacher of your family
Right.
if you're tired all the time, your back hurts, and you have brain fog. And a
Yeah.
lot of people don't necessarily realize this is what's happened to them because it's sort of slowly set in with age and time,
Yeah.
and it becomes your like normal. But that doesn't have to be normal. It's really hard to be a faithful man of God if you're obese and chronically inflamed and your mind is just basically weakened. And it's an area that if you lack discipline in this area, typically it's bleeding over into other areas. Even one cool thing that we know now is the portion of the brain that's responsible for discipline in general and sort of like motivation, it hypertrophies, it grows. People who lift weights, it's like twice as big.
All right. Hey, welcome back to Campfire Apologetics, where I help the everyday Christian with tools to help defend their faith in a hostile culture. I'm your host, Mark Hudson, and this is brought to you by the Truth in Love Network. So check that out, truthinlovenetwork.com. All kinds of awesome guys on there, awesome teaching, podcasts, YouTube channels, whatever, it's on there. So give it a like and follow all those guys on YouTube. But today I have a special guest, Justin Johnson, and he, I guess, is the owner and maybe president and all of the other fun titles that you
whatever
can
you
give.
call yourself in a small business. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah. For Dominion Wealth Strategies and also High Calling Fitness. I don't know if you can tell by looking at him that he's into fitness, but
a little bit.
we're gonna we're gonna talk about those things and from a biblical perspective. And so, Justin, thank you so much for coming on the show, taking the time to talk about these things. Why don't you give us maybe a little more of a background of who you are and touch on some things you want us to know about you.
Yeah. Well, I got 4 kids. I live out in Washington State, and a dog and a bunch of dumb birds that lay eggs when they're not being lazy in the winter.
Nice.
Those of you that have chickens and ducks, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I live out here. I'm a 1689 Reformed Baptist, and I have a big passion, always have, for stewardship in general, particularly as it applies to stewardship of the body and the mind, and which is why I founded High Calling Fitness, and then stewardship of our finances, particularly the church. And that's why I co-founded Dominion Wealth Strategists with Josiah Stowe.
Right on. Yeah, that's awesome. Those are both things that, I'm more into the fitness world now. I seem to always run from the finances. I don't run from it. I mean, I'm the one that does all the budgeting and things in my household, but I suck at it. Like I'm just bad with numbers, man. They numbers freak me out. Math, I've always been terrible at. The second I see them, my mind shuts down. I don't know what to do. My kid comes home with like his long division homework, and I'm like, bro, you're on your own, man. I don't
go have fun.
Like, yeah, I don't know what to tell you, but I'm not your guy. So, maybe you can help alleviate, that type of, I guess, anxiety when it comes to doing finances and things. But yeah, what is it that drew you to finances in a biblical sense?
Yeah, I think I always had just a natural gravitation toward the topic for whatever reason. And I've always been very structured and detailed in the way that I kind of conduct my life, and the way that we run our household. And so finances is sort of a natural outpouring of that. And I've always just, even as a teenager, took the concept of stewardship very seriously. The parable of the talents and those types of teachings always resonated very strongly with me. And before I got into it professionally, I've just been in the position where people kind of got an idea somehow of what I was like, and sort of assumed my competence. And, I came to me for advice and things like that once in a while, or just come up in conversation. And the person that was my financial advisor, he was my financial advisor for over 10 years before I got into the business. And he always kind of, when we would, do our annual reviews or other discussions, kind of would push me into like, hey, you'd really like this, you should do it, you should do it. And I was always sort of resistant, not because I didn't think I would like it, but actually because I didn't want to take the tests for licensing and that type of thing, because I'm a terrible test taker. I've always been bad at taking tests. And I managed to do really well in the IT world without really having any certifications or even formal education, besides like an associate's degree. But those almost don't count. So like it was kind of a thing where I kind of got as far as I could really go in IT as a consultant for various government entities. And just was like, well, I can't really make any more money than I'm making. I don't want to go into executive management. I was getting tired of the politics that kind of had crept more and more into that world. And Josiah and I met online, and sort of the rest is history, if you will. We pretty quickly decided we wanted to do something Dominion is sort of on its second iteration from when it started, because we were working at another firm before we decided to go independent, because it just wasn't a good fit for what we wanted to do, and trying to work, especially with the church specifically. They didn't really share our values and our approach, and so we parted ways. And like I said, kind of went independent so that we could specifically try to help people in the church be better stewards of their finances, and try to help with some of the basic things like you're talking about. A lot of people there's an anxiety around their budgets and around their financial future. Mm-hmm. And so we help on that level, of course, kind of coach people through that, along with offering other services, of course, directly. But that kind of ends up being the initial like bread and butter of our approach, is making sure that people's budgets are squared away, their money's going where it should be going, and helping them to develop a vision for their finances that can have a multi-generational impact. Even people that don't make a ton of money, I think they can be surprised sometimes at what they can do with what they have if it's managed properly. And they have, especially when you have that vision and goal in mind, it makes it so that you're more motivated to actually like build something that can be even extend beyond your own lifetime.
Yeah. It's funny. I got turned on to who you are through Apologia, through those guys, because I guess they use like one of your commercials or
we're a sponsor. Or
yeah. So that's cool. Because I was watching them and your stuff was popping up, and I'm like, okay, like a reformed guy talking about finances. I think that aligns more with me, because I'm a more Reformed Baptist. I mean, my church is not a 1689 church, but it leans very heavily Reformed, and I personally,
covenantal.
I personally like 1689, and so I personally, I guess I would say that I hold to that. But my initial, I guess, introduction into the financial stuff is probably similar to most Christians, and that's through like Dave Ramsey, and through Financial Peace and all of that.
He's the biggest Christian voice in finance, I would say.
Yeah. But I know that I don't know much about his theology, so I can't really speak to that. I've heard him say some goofy stuff, so I was like,
he does say goofy stuff once in a while.
So I was like, I don't know, but I found, and maybe you'll agree, maybe you'll disagree. I think that he has a lot of good things, debt snowball and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I just couldn't help but think that a lot of his principles in our culture that we live in just seemed so unrealistic. And what I mean, but it's like, he talks about buying like a crappy car, driving that around for a little while until you have the money to get a better car. And it's like, well, at one point that may have been possible, but nowadays a beater car, I feel like, really isn't that much less than buying a decent used car, or like cheaper housing. He talks about if you're living beyond your means, sell your house and find something cheaper. Well, now the way that the housing market is, it's like that doesn't even exist
Most
anymore.
people don't have that opportunity to like step down in house and then just have like, especially right now with mortgage rates having changed. If you bought a house 5 years ago, even if you get a house that's significantly cheaper now to try to like downsize your house your
Yeah.
payment's not going to go down.
No,
You're
it's
actually going to
relative.
lose more money to interest than anything else. And
Yeah.
one of the flaws I have even with his pay off your mortgage early philosophy is, I mean, yeah, mortgage rates are a little bit high right now. It's like 6%. So there are all sorts of places you could put your money that will do better than 6%. And so my concentration when I'm working with someone is I want Christians to hold all the wealth. That's why we created the thing. And like unashamedly, I want Christians to have wealth and the ability to not just influence the next generation, their children, but also their communities, maybe whether that be in service to their church, so they can stroke checks, or ministries they want to support, or political movements, or whatever that may be.
Yeah.
And right now, that's, Christians are not the ones that hold the wealth to do that kind of thing. And I want that to change. But one of the fundamental things of, like, specifically back to the mortgage is, no matter how much you owe on your mortgage, however much your house increases in value while you own it, you get all of that when you sell it. It's all yours, whether you have a mortgage or don't. And furthermore, if you're paying to avoid, like me, a 2.7% interest rate, like why try to save yourself from that when that same money could be spent elsewhere or saved elsewhere? Like a high yield savings account beats that, for example.
Yeah. Right.
So like if my concentration is on stewarding my wealth so that it can grow as effectively as possible, like the parable of the talents, then I want what's the highest net worth at the end of the day, so that I can have the power to do these things I want to do for my children's sake, for the church, etc. I'm not going to spend that money trying to avoid a minor interest charge over time when I could grow it elsewhere far more effectively.
Yeah. Yeah. And the parable of the talents is like, it seems to be a great place to go for that, because
Yeah,
it
it's a favorite.
shows. Yeah. I mean, showing that these couple guys were given very little. They invest it, they grow that, they grow what they were given. It just shows that there's wisdom in investing in what God has given you to multiply it. And then you have the other guy who just kind of like,
Buries it.
hides his money away, buries
Yeah.
it, doesn't do anything with it. So therefore it doesn't grow. He doesn't lose anything, but it doesn't grow. And just seeing how, the parable is painting that guy like, I can't trust you with greater things if I can't trust you with the little bit that I've given you, and you haven't done anything with it. You haven't grown that. And I think that's that's a great place to go, because there's a lot of Christians, for some reason, I don't know what it is. It's like this, maybe it's like a false sense of piety in poverty or something like that, where Christians believe that they're supposed to be poor or like, downcast.
There's a righteousness in being in poverty.
Yeah. It's like I think maybe they're taking these different texts where it's talking about worshiping God and money, and they're just like applying that wrongly, where they're like, well, if I invest my money and I'm trying to grow my money, and I'm trying to do good things for my family and leave a legacy and leave all these other things, then they see that as like worshiping money, and it's like it's not the same thing.
Yeah, there's a difference between loving money and wanting to grow money. They might overlap somewhat in some of the things you do, but they don't overlap where it pertains to how you deploy that money and your motivation for doing so. I don't have a love of money, but I have a love of what money can do for my family and what it can do for my church and my community.
Yeah.
It's like there's a quote in Lord of the Rings. I think it's Faramir that says it. But it's something along the lines of, I do not love the arrow for its swiftness or the blade for its sharpness, but I love what they protect. And that is the same thing with money. We don't have to love money to want to grow it. It's out of a desire to love our families, love our church, love potentially our community and those around us, to try to influence our environment for good. And when God put Adam in the garden, he said to take care of it. He said to take dominion. That's why we called it dominion, because this is an area in which we need to exercise dominion in our lives. And that extends to should be a multi-generational approach of, how do I leave a legacy, not just with money, but also with just financial wisdom. Like, you should be teaching your children these things. They should know how to handle money properly, so that when you pass on whatever you may pass on, they know how to steward it wisely, and it can become bigger and bigger. We want generational progress. We don't want each generation to have to figure everything out on their own.
Yeah.
That's the issue I take with the like sort of like, I think it's going away a bit, but the like school of hard knocks, boomerish, like pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Like, yeah, you can do that. This is America, but we don't want to put our children in the position where that's what they have to do, and that's the only way that they're going to succeed.
Right.
Why not set them
Yeah.
up with the right instructions so that they know more than you know when they get out
Yeah.
on their own, and they have more resources than you had when they get out on their own. So it can be a great blessing to them.
Yeah, it's like there's this sense of I had it really rough, and it built character in me, so I need my kids to also have it the same way to build.
Or
the
maybe you could
character in
just try to pass that character on to your kids so they can like start from a higher level. Like that's
Yeah, yeah.
like we
That's how you
want to
get better
see,
and better.
yeah, we want to see our kids be better than us. Like that, I think it's a silly selfishness to think that like, oh, that's what my kids should go through too, because it's what I did. And it's like, is that really the best? What if you had showed up to adulthood knowing what you know now because your father had passed that on to you? And we
Yeah,
have that opportunity as fathers
yeah,
to have our children start out at a level that, yeah, they won't have the wisdom of time that we may have, but they can have a lot of that passed on so that they can start from a much better place than we did when we became adults. And my father did. It's not to say my father didn't pass on a lot to me, because he certainly did, but that's the nature of it. Like, I should be better than my father, and my children should be better than me
yeah,
as men.
and it makes me think too that if each generation has a higher starting point,
Yeah,
then you're on a better trajectory to
yeah,
leaving more kind of generational wealth or legacy or whatever. That way you're not like
yeah.
falling back down to the bottom rung every single time a new generation starts over.
Yes.
It just doesn't make sense. It's like you're never going to get anywhere further. You're always going to get to this one rung, but then you're going to stop back at the first one and only make it back to the sixth or seventh one every time
Yeah.
instead of extending the ladder all the way.
Yeah, this is what like the ultra wealthy understand too. If you look at some families, like the huge generational wealth that you see is not because they just sent their kids out and were like, okay, go have fun, go learn all the things all on your
Yeah,
own.
right.
It's I have built this empire, I'm going to pass it on to you, so let me prepare it. This is the way that most of the aristocracy behaved in the Middle Ages, for example.
Mm.
There was a rightly understood responsibility to lead and rule for the sake of your people. And so children were sort of like groomed all through childhood to be set up to take over for their parents. And
Mm.
we, as sort of like middle class Americans, have a very similar opportunity, because we're not slaves to some lord or whatever. Like, we get to own property, we get to start businesses and do what we want, or be employed and be ambitious, and we should take full advantage of that, I believe.
Yeah. I agree. I think, even some of those families you're talking about who aren't necessarily Christian, it's like they're applying some Christian principles in there, and that's probably how they got to where they're at.
Yeah.
Instead of taking kind of this worldly approach of credit cards. And I think Dave Ramsey even talks about that. There's like a credit card Barbie or something like that they market to kids, that this is what you do. You learn that from a young age, that this is how you
It's like
this is how you build wealth. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And like, I'm not totally anti-debt, but it needs to be used rightly. I'm anti-consumer debt, that's for sure. Like, if you need a new TV, don't use a credit card. But like, unless you want the points, you're going to pay it off. But like,
if you're disciplined enough to do that.
Yeah, exactly. I do that.
People,
I get a handful of free plane flights a year, so
sure,
it works.
yeah.
It works out.
Right.
But like, you shouldn't be just engaging in debt because it's short-term thinking. Debt is meant to be like something you can use, you can deploy for, in a sense where it creates an opportunity for you that you might not otherwise have to hopefully be a better steward, maybe grow something or something along those lines. Like, if you have a good business idea and you've done your homework, you've done due diligence, and it makes sense, debt can be a risk worth taking if you're making that bet on yourself. But it's not worth it's not worth, oh, we don't have money, so we're going to go on a big family vacation, so I'm going to put $20,000 on the card going to Disneyland.
Yeah.
That's not that's not a responsible use of debt. And Ramsey rightly rebukes that, and I'm right there with him.
Yeah,
But
yeah, I agree.
but where I'm not is like saying all debt is bad, because it's not necessarily. It just needs to be used very carefully, and it needs
Yeah.
to be analyzed carefully.
Yeah, and I think maybe adding to that is the reason that a lot of people use debt is to try to build their credit score. This
Yeah.
like this kind of imaginary number that's like predicated on
Hmm.
how good you are at borrowing money and paying it back, and it has
Yeah.
absolutely nothing to do with who you are as a person or how much
Yeah.
money you actually have in the bank or anything in your history or anything like that.
Yeah.
And a lot of people see debt is that, instead of like what you just said, the tool that you can use it as long as you're disciplined enough to be able to use it as that, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. Because I think a lot of people will go into using a credit card for a purpose of utility or some sort,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then they'll fall into that trap of, I have time to pay it off, and then they don't pay it off, and then it
Yeah.
comes around to that day one of interest, and now they're stuck in this loop of interest that they can never get out of.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think, yeah, as a tool, as long as you are super disciplined in being able to like
Yeah.
set some rules for yourself and set a standard for yourself, like, I'm going to use this, but it has to be paid off by like this date or whatever, and you're
Yeah.
diligently budgeting toward that, and
Yeah.
whatever else you need to do.
And there are people that maybe just shouldn't have credit cards, at least for a time in their
Yeah,
life. If they've
yeah,
had a bad habit or something, it's almost becomes an addiction cycle. So like,
yeah,
if
yeah,
you're someone that struggles with that, you should probably cancel your credit cards, and pay them off, and then like maybe take a break for a while. Like if that's not you, then it's okay to recognize that and go like, yeah, that's not for me. And
yeah,
the thing about credit scores that I find silly is like, I have my credit scores in the like high 700s.
yeah,
I don't do anything to try to make it that high.
yeah,
My only debt is my mortgage. And I
yeah,
have a credit card that we use for all of our expenses to get points, and I pay off the balance every month. I haven't carried a balance on a credit card since I was like 19 or 20.
yeah.
So like, you can have a high credit score without having to have like 5 lines of credit and carry balances on anything.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah, and so I guess a question, since we're talking about credit cards, is, if what are some of your um I guess some of your like philosophies on, if you're in debt, if you're one of those people that was irresponsible with credit cards or just financial decisions in general, and you're in debt and you're having a hard time getting out of debt and then actually being able to save any kind of money, and you're just like living paycheck to paycheck,
Hmm.
and it's like you pay all your bills every month and then you really don't have anything left over. you
Yeah.
know what do you tell that person? Like, what is the hope for them, I guess, for getting out of that?
Yeah, and there are multiple. I mean, it comes down to the situation, but the two major things you have are cut expenses and or raise income. And
Hmm.
usually some expense needs to be cut, but some people, I mean, we have met with people that like, they are actually living really lean, and the only real answer is you have to figure out a way to get income up.
Yeah, right,
Because like they are actually being very responsible with their finances, and
right,
downsizing in house might not be a realistic option, especially for some people. Like if, like we talked about before, if
yeah,
you're locked into a low interest rate on your house, getting a house that's worth 100,000 less might not actually give you more cash flow, and it might just mean you're just sending more money to the bank for no real benefit to yourself. So it is
yeah,
somewhat individual. And I would encourage any man that's in this situation, that if you feel like you have, I mean, one, set a meeting with us. Of course, we'd be happy to take a look at things. But if you have actually done your due diligence on your budget, and you've stripped out what's not needed and things like that, then the next step may be that you have to make more money. That might mean a career pivot. Might mean actually like talking to your employer about like, what would it take? What do I got to do to make more money here? Like, some employers welcome that conversation, because
hmm,
they might be happy to give you more responsibility and go like, well, I'll give you more responsibility and pay you more, or go get another job. Because the thing is, for most of us, if you're employed, your employer is not loyal to you, so you don't owe them owe them loyalty back. We're not living in the like 1960s where that was kind of a thing.
Yeah.
It's just not the case for most people. Some people are in special situations where their employer genuinely cares about them, but
Yeah.
that's incredibly rare. And back when I was a W-2 employee, all of my step ups in compensation happened when I moved jobs. When I just found the job that paid better because I got more skills and I was qualified for something else and moved up. And I would encourage men to be ambitious in that regard. And the other option, of course, is always to start a side hustle or business. Like,
Yeah.
high calling fitness started out as a side hustle. I didn't really want to do it full time until after I'd been doing it for a couple years, and then I kind of was like, I really like doing this. Let's do this.
Yeah.
And then like same thing with Dominion was, I kind of helped some people. I never charged money for it, but then it
Right.
became like I really want to do this, and it's starting a business is obviously it's a lot. It's more than most people realize to make it happen. But if you have the drive to do so and the vision for what you're going to do, like it's there's a lot of opportunity out there. The
Mm.
lack is only on our ability to execute and build a business that works. It's
Mm.
not, and have a business idea that's viable. I mean, you might have a business idea that's just not going to go anywhere, but
Yeah.
usually it comes down to our failure to execute properly.
Yeah, I think my problem is every time I think of a business, I'm like, well, crap, I need to go into debt to even start this business.
Yeah.
Like, I need a truck and a trailer and all this other stuff. It's
Yeah.
like I
And
need to.
what, like the nice thing for me with like high calling fitness, the startup cost for that was like almost nothing.
Yeah, right.
Dominion was very expensive, but fortunately I've usually been a good saver. And so I had a lot of money
Oh,
to blow through to start that. But it was a lot. Dominion cost a lot of money to get going, but it was a bet. I didn't take out debt for it because I didn't have to, but it's something
mm,
like in that example, it wouldn't have been irresponsible of me to do necessarily
yeah.
because the potential was there. And I knew that I was willing to hustle through it because it was a few years of like 60 to 80-hour work weeks for me to get Dominion and high calling fitness off the ground to become what they are today.
Yeah, and you were talking about I think licensing and stuff, right? For like
Mhm.
Dominion.
Yeah.
Did you have to get any kind of licenses for the fitness side of things? I mean, or is that just like hey, look, I'm a fitness expert online and I can tell
Yeah.
you what to eat and tell you what workouts to do? I mean, what goes
Yeah.
into that? Did you need anything for
I
to get going with
didn't.
that?
You can. I didn't. Everything that I know is from coaches that I've consulted with or my own sort of self study, because I do kind of thrive on that. There are certifications you can get, but in my experience, most people just don't care. I've never actually had a potential client that I'm meeting with ask me that I can remember what my certifications are. They just
Yeah,
want to know if
right.
I'm competent. Because the bummer about
Yeah.
the fitness world is it's unregulated, which is nice, but it's also incredibly scammy. So most of the certifications out there are just they're fairly worthless. Like one of the coaches, because we have a few other coaches at High Calling Fitness. One of our coaches, he is really good at taking a test. He can like study for a weekend and get a certification.
Uh,
And
yeah.
and he'll be the first to tell you, like, yeah, most of those were just like fun pieces of paper to get. But like only a few of them did he actually learn any useful information or did he demonstrate his competence in them. There are a few that are pretty good, but you don't have to get them. It's not regulated that way, and so I haven't. But a couple of
Yeah.
the coaches on my team do have various certifications because it was a good fit for them.
Yeah, I think when it comes to that world, it's like people can see your physique and they can see that
Hmm.
what you've done has worked for you, and so
Yeah,
you can help other people get there too. I don't know that
yeah,
so many people are actually even worried about that type of thing. I mean,
They're not.
I'm not
Yeah,
personally.
yeah. Most people aren't because they see that like, oh, he gets results for his clients and he got results for himself. Because before I got into this, like I've lifted weights since I was like around 11 or 12 years old, but I didn't know what I was doing.
Uh,
And I didn't take it super seriously. Like I was generally healthy, but I was also like extremely skinny and not muscular. Like I've never been fat,
right.
but up until I really started to take my own fitness really seriously, I bought into the whole like, oh, I'm skinny, I can't put on muscle, all this other stuff. And then around 2016, I was like, so this is it's actually of 2015 when I really decided, but I went for it in 2016 when I figured out what to do. I was like, no, there's no way that's true. A lot of people put on muscle mass. Why can't I?
Yeah, right, right.
And so I kind of went down that path, but like I'm 5'11", and in 2015, I was 135 pounds. I didn't, I wasn't muscular. I had abs,
No, I was gonna say you
but that was
must have
just
been
because I
pretty
was
skinny.
super skinny.
Yeah, yeah.
I was a ripped, skinny dude. Um, and, like I just decided to make a change. And so like some of it was people seeing that transformation, me coming to me for advice and that sort of thing. And of course now it's the clients as well, like the before and after pictures and things like that. We've had, who knows how many hundreds of pounds have been lost at this point at the company, but that's really what matters, because I've seen a lot of highly credentialed coaches that are good at marketing, and they may or may not get results for their clients.
Yeah. I saw this one guy, he's like on Instagram, and it wasn't a good look. This dude was, he was like some kind of LGBT oversized. I mean, dude was huge, and
Yeah.
not in a good way. Like not like
Yeah.
Arnold huge, but like Fat
Yeah.
Albert huge. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And he was a fitness influencer,
Yeah.
and people would pay this guy because that's what he is, a guy. But they would pay him money, and I don't know what it was for. I mean, I'm like, if I don't know what he was helping him with. I mean, and I guess maybe I'd have to see some of his clients, before and after. Maybe he does know what you need to do, and he's just too lazy to do it. I don't know.
Maybe it's possible. Yeah.
I don't know. So maybe he's got something to offer there, but it just seems so odd to me that that he even had clients that people would come to him and be like, "Wow, this guy knows what he's doing." I'm going to sign up for him, but I have a feeling it's probably that overly feminized culture that we live in, and just the body shaming.
It's mostly the
all
shared
that crap.
values, yeah, kind of thing along those lines, more than anything else than competence. Yeah.
Yeah. It's and so yeah, I guess like shifting over to like the fitness side of things. I think you were talking about being a good steward and disciplining and stuff like that, and that can apply to money. But I also
Mhm.
think that goes over, and that can apply to the body as well, and
Yeah.
and that can apply to being a good steward of the body that God has given you, and to not let that go to crap
Yeah.
into because the physical body affects so many other things in your life. I
Yeah.
mean, it affects your mind, and we're told to be able to reason in scripture, and be able to give a reason for the hope that is in you, to be able to speak logically about things. And I
Yeah.
know for myself that when I eat a certain way, I just have a level of like brain fog, and
Brain fog and tired, and
yeah, I
you
just
just,
can't
yeah.
think properly on even on issues that I've like talked about at length for forever.
Yeah.
I go into them and I'm like, why can't I remember anything
Yeah.
that I
Yeah.
would normally say on this issue? And like a good example is yesterday, right? So me and my wife go to, well, we brought the kids. A friend of ours and his wife, her family does this every year. They call it
Mhm.
the Super Bowl. So it's not obviously it's not the football game because that's next weekend,
Yeah.
but it's a weekend that they get together the weekend before the actual Super Bowl,
Mhm.
and they have this soup cook off where everybody brings like their best soup that they've cooked, and they all
Yeah.
taste test, and there's like this big voting and all kinds of stuff, and there's like
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
trophy given out and things like that.
That's awesome.
And so we're up there, and the soups probably weren't that bad,
Yeah.
for me. Like I was
Yeah.
taste testing all them, but there was all kinds of other crap. There was cookies and sodas and all kinds of
Yeah.
other stuff, and of course I'm just like indulging, and I'm like, we get home at, I don't know, it was like 7 p.m. and I was like dead tired. I
Yeah.
mean, I
Yeah.
was crashing hard. And then I woke up today feeling just off. I mean,
Yeah.
just like crap. And
Yeah.
because I haven't really eaten like that for a long time. Like anymore, if I grab a soda, it's like a Coke Zero, or,
Yeah. Same. Yeah.
you know what I mean? Or like I really don't. I try to stay away from sugar as much as possible. I mean, I'm
Mhm.
I'm still pretty weak in that area, but I don't do it as much as I used to. So I've gotten
Yeah.
better, and
Yeah.
and that's what I think. I'm like, all right, progress, right, little wins. But
Yeah.
yesterday I was just like the gluttonous, me from before, just eating everything in sight. and woke up feeling like absolute crap. So I think that for me, I have noticed that in my own life. Like that just plays
Yeah.
into like I was not being a good steward of my body or mind
Yeah.
yesterday when I was doing that. Um,
Yeah. And, well,
but it,
there's a
you know,
time for feasting, obviously. We just have to be careful. I mean,
yeah,
but I
right,
think the big point though is you as a man are not going to be a very adequate leader, provider, protector, teacher of your family
right,
if you're tired all the time, your back hurts, and you have brain fog. And a
yeah,
lot of people don't necessarily realize this is what's happened to them because it's sort of slowly set in with age and time, and
yeah,
it becomes your like normal. But that doesn't have to be normal. It's really hard to be a faithful man of God if you're obese and chronically inflamed and your mind is just basically weakened. And it's an area that if you lack discipline in this area, typically it's bleeding over into other areas. Even one cool thing that we know now is the portion of the brain that's responsible for discipline in general and sort of like motivation, it hypertrophies, it grows. People who lift weights, it's like twice as big. Like
mm,
you actually grow the portion of the brain responsible for discipline and motivation as you just from training. And so then imagine what happens as that bleeds over and applies to other parts of your life. This is why I've seen guys that start taking their training seriously and their diet seriously and other lifestyle factors, getting sleep, getting outside, those sorts of things. And they
yeah,
think it's going to be like this big resource like hog for them and suck all their time, but they actually find that the time that they have is better spent. And like I've seen guys businesses and careers take off from doing this stuff because
yeah,
they have this motivation and energy they didn't have before and this clarity of mind, and their wives start seeing it and like
yeah,
they respect them more because you're being disciplined, and so it sort of carries over to the rest of your family. And the other part is like it is an act of service to take care of your body for your spouse. If you're
yeah,
letting yourself go, then there's a degree to which you're forsaking intimacy that you should be able to have with your wife. And that goes both ways, the wife to the husband and the husband to the wife.
sure,
But if you're a man trying to lead your family in this area while you're failing, and I always sort of think of the like, like the dad, he's obese, he's overweight, and he's telling his sons like, yeah, get out there and go work hard, and then what we're always telling young men is to like be more disciplined, but like, you haven't like said no to a donut in 10 years. Like how are you able to do that faithfully, and how much are your kids going to respect you for that? It's going to be really hard for them to hear that when they know like you want me to be disciplined about like not looking at certain websites, dad, but like you won't even say no to a snack.
yeah. I was just gonna make that point. Like it, the discipline in the sphere of food can go so much further.
Yeah,
It can go. It's teaching your kids just discipline in general, right? I
yeah,
mean, discipline in the areas of money or discipline in the areas of what you are feeding your mind, like
yeah,
you said, those certain websites. Like we all know what we're talking about when we say that,
yeah,
and to be able to say no in one area can translate to another area. Being
yeah,
able to say no there as well, and being strong and not being like just controlled by
yeah,
the sinful fleshly ideas in your mind.
yeah,
And I don't know if just talking about being like trying to be more fit as a dad, being it allows you to be more present. It allows you to be a
mhm,
better leader, a
yeah,
stronger leader in the house, a better father, better husband, all those things. I don't know if you've noticed this or not, and maybe this is just a weird connection that I make, and maybe there's something to it, maybe not. It's not really like the rule, but it seems to me that in the reformed world,
yeah,
a lot more of the reformed guys, the reformed pastors and teachers and stuff, seem to be a lot more into the fitness world and lifting and being healthy. And I compare it to like the dispensationalist world,
yeah.
and I can't help but think like they're sitting around thinking like, well, it doesn't matter if I eat this whole sleeve of Oreos because we're going to get raptured out of here at any second anyway.
It's all gonna burn, so who cares? Yeah,
Like I can't
yeah,
I can't help but think that. Like it's just where my mind goes. But there's a lot of those pastors that I know of. Not all of them. I mean, like, again, it's not like the rule, but it seems like it's just more of a mindset in the reformed world than it is in the
Yeah.
I guess, there's other worlds other than dispensational, but that's just like the example that I used. But
Yeah, yeah. I think that I've seen a lot more interest in that area growing,
yeah,
especially in our circles, and I greatly welcome it. And I think a lot of people don't realize how little it actually takes. It's not a lot of people think like, oh, it's just like it's what you do in the gym is what matters most. It does matter a lot, but you
right.
can't out train a poor diet. You can't out train not
Mm,
sleeping enough. Like
yeah,
it actually the real work is in the kitchen and like
yeah,
all those other things where it touches your life where you might not be faithful necessarily.
yeah,
And so like it's easy for me to write a program for a client basically, but to write a diet plan that really works for them and their lifestyle and their schedule and everything else, that's where it becomes complicated to help them design a morning routine that like makes sense for their responsibilities and where they are in life. That's where the challenge is. And then the other thing that we're doing is sort of like coming alongside and providing both accountability and motivation, and depending on the individual, is sort of a blend so that we're able to sort of like, this is the structure, let's take steps in this direction. It doesn't have to be like an all at once thing necessarily, but if you're making those steps, it will reap benefits for years to come. It's
yeah,
not it, that and that's really where the challenge of coaching is. The challenge of coaching is not writing a program for like helping someone learn how to lift weights properly. Like, yes, that's a thing, it's a skill, and that sort of thing. But to me, like writing a program is far more simple than having a call with a client and trying to understand exactly what's going on in their mind and helping them like develop a vision and develop discipline and to make those like subtle changes that'll help keep them on track and those types of things so that they can continue to make progress through just stuff that comes up in life that
yeah,
makes we don't have the luxury of being like, oh, so I'm gonna go to the gym at this time. It'll be easy. It'll be great. It's like, well, maybe the mornings are best for you. Maybe the evenings are best. Maybe during your lunch breaks best. Like, when is the best? Do you have a home gym? Can you build a home gym? Are you what gym are you going to select? Are you going to pick the one that's closer to work or closer to home? And like navigating all of these things, like most of my clients train for it's kind of like me. I only train for about 3 hours a week usually. I train
mm,
4 days a week, and those workouts are about 40 minutes, 40,
yeah,
45 minutes. So it's not like I spend that much time training,
right,
but I do spend a lot more time, eating the right things. I I spend more time eating than training, just like the rest of us.
right,
And
right.
I have to make sure that at a certain time I'm going to bed and that my environment in my bedroom is such that it supports good quality sleep.
Yeah,
That's really where the work actually ends up kind of being, because it's one thing to just be like, okay, I'm going to schedule this time, go to the gym, because that's kind of simple, and yes, it
yeah.
helps massively. I'm not discounting that, but adding all the other things of changing your nighttime habits and
It's a complete
changing the
lifestyle
kinds,
change.
yeah, changing the
Yeah,
foods you buy and all that sort of thing, and like
yeah,
learning how a lot of people don't know how to cook. Like a lot of people do not know how to cook food, and so
yeah,
they're buying processed foods, and those are generally not going to be very good for you. And so like even developing skills like cooking skills and things like that, like what should I put in food, what should food be like, and
yeah.
helping them. Like my wife has a bunch of recipes she's developed over the years, and so like we're sharing recipes often with
Mm,
clients for like, this is a dinner that will give you enough protein, and this
yeah.
is like lunch ideas and that sort of thing.
I steal a lot of the cooking for gains guys recipes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
He's got
exactly.
some good stuff, but I mean, yeah, it is a lifestyle thing, and for me, it was a big. I got so tired of being the person that it just made that age old excuse like I don't have the time in the day to do this. And
Yeah,
I would listen to guys. I really like like Jocko Willink and like
yeah.
like those dudes. And
Mhm.
yeah, they're probably not they're not
Kind of the
Christian,
hype guys, yeah.
but yeah, they're very deep into the physical fitness world and come from this like hard mindset, this Navy SEAL background, and just listening to these guys talk is almost motivational. You hear them, like,
Yeah,
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 you may think you don't have enough time in the day, but guess what? There's 24 hours in a day, and you're
yeah.
probably sleeping during more of them than you really need to, and you just need to make more time. And for me, that's kind of what it became was I just decided like on Mondays I drop the kids off at school and then I'll go
Mhm.
right to the gym.
Yeah.
And then I'll come home and I'll eat and I'll do things like this. I'll make
Yeah.
like either write up podcast episodes or record one or
Hmm.
study or whatever. But then, when I go back to work for the week, that's when it gets tough because I work Wednesday through Saturday. So I work 4
Okay.
10-hour days, right? And
Yeah. Yeah.
so Wednesday through Saturday, I have to be at work at 6 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
And I know because Wednesday after work, we have church group and we get home a little later those days.
Yeah.
And there's just stuff going on the other days. And so I know that if I don't wake up I go 3 days a week. So
Yeah.
I go to the gym 3 days a week. I do like a pretty minimalist thing for now, until
Yeah.
I can like really get into the groove of doing it. And then maybe I'll add in some other stuff. But
Hmm.
like you said, my workouts are like maybe 40 minutes. Like they're
Yeah.
not very long. I do what I need to do and I get out. But on Wednesdays and Fridays, I wake up at like 3:30 a.m. And
Yeah.
I go to the gym, I work out, I'm leaving. I usually get out of the gym by like 4:15, 4:20 if I get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, because my gym's like right next to my house. So I get in there
That's nice. Yeah.
and I get home and typically that gives me enough time to get a shower and cook something. I eat before I go to work.
Hmm.
And like some days it sucks way worse than others because who
Yeah.
wants to wake up at freaking 3 in the morning? Like that's
Yeah.
not really all that fun. It,
No.
it does suck at times, especially when it's like 5 degrees outside, because you're all
Yeah.
wrapped up in your blanket and you're like, oh, this is so comfortable. And I'm just gonna walk out and get punched in the face by,
Yeah.
the winter air. But I just got tired of being that guy. And I just, I had this idea of I heard Jocko say it one time where he was like, if you're looking for motivation, you're going to fail because it doesn't exist. He's like,
Yeah.
motivation is not going to be there. Sometimes it might be, but it's not
Yeah.
always going to be. You
Yeah.
have to be disciplined. Discipline over motivation is a much bigger thing. You
Yeah.
do something that sucks even when you don't want to do it. And like I read
Yeah.
one of his books and one of his philosophies is just like, do something that sucks every day that you don't want to do. He's like,
Yeah.
whether it's like doing the dishes or whatever it is, just
Yeah.
that thing you don't want to do it anyway, because that's going to condition you to push through the suck into you just discipline yourself to do things when you don't want to do them. And it's funny because
It's a skill that builds.
it is. And man, I was kicking myself in the face the one day because we were going to the gym. This is when we went to the Y and they had like a kids program.
Yeah.
And I was bringing my kids with me. And so the night before, my son was like, oh, I really don't want to do this. I don't remember what it was. It might have been his homework or something. I don't know. And I told him, I was like, look, it's when you don't want to do something is when you need to do it the most. Like
Yeah.
that's when it's going to count. And then the very next day we're going to the gym and I'm driving there and he hears me say like, oh man, I'm really not feeling it today. Like I really don't feel like it. And I hear him in the back and he's like, well, that means you got to do it. Like today, that
Yeah.
means like you have to now because you don't want
Yeah.
to. And I'm like, oh, why'd I say that to you?
Yeah. And I view the like motivation and discipline like dichotomy similar to
Yeah.
what I think we're really familiar with in the Reformed world of like joy and happiness.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Like joy is something that's cultivated. Joy is something that's sort of developed and you can have at all times.
Yeah.
Happiness is fleeting and it's nice when you have it.
Yeah.
And that's great, but it's
Yeah.
not really something you can necessarily chase per se.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with like discipline and motivation. Discipline is something you cultivate, you nurture, you grow, and you have motivation some days. And those are good days. Those are like those days are more fun. They're happier. But
Yeah.
what you have to be able to fall back on is your discipline. And I've had times in my training, like I haven't really stopped, but like there's been plenty of times, even months at a time, where I just didn't really feel like it. Like when I was building businesses, like I was working a lot of hours and a lot of times I just didn't really feel like it.
Yeah.
But I also knew that I sort of had to, from the standpoint of like, I won't be able to be the person that's capable of doing this if I forsake that part of my life because I'll become less capable. So it was always a sort of investment of my time so that I could be capable of doing the things I needed to do. I do generally like working out, but I also, I'm way past that newbie beginner stage where you get to like see gains, all the time and that sort of thing. So
Yeah, yeah.
like that's sort of like a nice thing when you start that like keeps you motivated, but you eventually have to fall back on that discipline. And I get some days I'm more motivated than others,
Yeah.
but it's like you said, it's time to show up whether you feel like it or not.
Yeah.
And it does bleed into other areas of your life. I'm sure you've seen that as you've been disciplined in training.
Hmm.
It becomes easier to be disciplined in other aspects of your life that need it and maybe lacked.
Absolutely. I think it's actually like I recently started like seminary courses, and I
Hmm.
think that it has helped me be disciplined in studying and reading and stuff. Like
Yeah.
if still just living the exact way that I lived before, and I would just make excuses, then I would just make excuses not to read and not
Mm.
to study, and then I would wait until the last minute when something was due to do it. And just kind of like how I got through high school, which was never really good. It was never the way to do it. But it's yeah, it's just so important to show up for yourself. And you saying like there's days where you don't feel like you feel out of it, and that just happened to me the other day. I mean, last week it was Wednesday. I was at the gym in the morning, and I
Hmm.
was just so tired, and I felt like I had like nothing in me, like I
Yeah.
felt like I had no push. I'm like sitting there doing workouts, and I'm thinking
Yeah.
about dropping the weight like 20 pounds just because I didn't feel. I'm like, ugh, like I'm having such a hard time pushing
And
right
the
now.
funny
But
thing is you probably found every day you feel like that, the strength is still there.
yeah, it is. It's
You're
just
not
it's just
actually
like
weaker, you just
yeah,
don't
it's like
feel like it.
right, yeah, that's exactly what it is. And I don't know if it's just like the night before I didn't eat enough carbs or something, so the next
Yeah.
morning I just didn't feel fueled, or like I didn't sleep as well, or whatever the case
Yeah.
may be. But it's the little wins. It's the like the little things that I try to tell me myself is like I'm still here. I still made it here. And even if I get through a workout and it wasn't the best workout I had, I'm still
Yeah.
not in bed sleeping. I'm not sitting on the couch at home. Like I'm
Yeah.
still doing more than the average person. I'm doing what's
Yeah.
good for myself. I'm doing what's good for my family. So you just push through, and even if it's not a
And
great
your whole
workout,
day
you
was
just do it.
better.
Yeah, and I never regret going.
Yeah,
I
nobody
never.
nobody was like, "Oh, man, I wish I'd go to the gym today." That was totally a mistake, like,
Yeah, but
it's
I
not really a
regret.
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I regret eating a lot of cookies, the night before. But
Yeah.
it is like a big thing to be able to like. It's kind of like that mind over matter
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah.
And um I don't know how in depth this will get, but and I've heard you speak on this a little bit before, but I do want to touch on this because I think it's important. So there was a long period of time where I felt like absolute dog crap. I
Mhm.
mean, I could fall asleep at any point during the day.
Mm.
I mean, if you
Mhm.
told me to like go lay down, like I would just fall asleep. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah, you
there were
could sleep
times,
sitting up if you wanted. Yeah.
oh, easily. And there
Yeah.
were times where I'd wake up and then I would go to work, and on the way to work I was falling asleep driving
Mm.
like after I
Wow.
just slept. Now, a big part of it was I got some blood work done, and I had insanely low testosterone.
Mhm.
Um And on top of that, I had sleep apnea, which
Yep.
I still have, and I
Mhm.
use a CPAP now, which
Yeah, I do
which is
too.
crazy because like people look at me and they're like, "You have sleep apnea?" I'm like, "Yeah." I
Yeah.
mean, it's not always
Yeah.
a
It
physiological thing. Like sometimes it's actually
Yeah.
just the way your throat is made, and
Yeah,
and
it's in my like, a lot of people in my family have it, and I have it because I have a thick neck from training. I mean, like, that's I don't train my neck directly, but, like, my
yeah.
neck's, like, 19.5 inches around.
Yeah,
So,
when you're
like
doing shoulders and traps and stuff, it's
yeah, it's
naturally
it's
gonna
the strongman training, right, and stuff like that. So, like, it just happens.
yeah.
But, like, even, like, I have people in my family that have it, and they're not obese. Like,
Right, right. Yeah, it's
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 just
just
like
it could just be the way that your jaw falls back when you're sleeping. It just cuts off air.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
just a weird thing. But so I mean, that's been huge. Is that has changed my sleep quality for the better. But
yeah.
also, and like this is not something that I even ever really bring up because it comes with such a stigma, and everybody thinks that
Yeah.
you're trying to be this thing that you're not trying to be.
Hmm.
But I started really, really researching TRT,
Yeah. Yeah. I'm on TRT
and
as well.
yeah, so I went through a clinic and I was like, look, these are where my numbers at. These are my symptoms. I feel like doo doo. I mean,
Yeah. Did you
I
have the like brain fog and like your memory wasn't working? You couldn't remember basic things?
all of it. I
Yeah, I
mean,
did
yeah,
too.
all of it. Like and my biggest thing was the fatigue. Like that was the
Yeah,
biggest thing.
me
But
too.
so I'm talking to these doctors and I'm doing all this research and I'm like, you know what? Like this is not as crazy
Mm-mm.
as what a lot of people make it out to be. And I
Yeah.
think it's because the gym bro world has ruined it for everybody else. It's kind
Yeah,
of
well,
like
and I think it's feminism too, that just like
yeah,
testosterone's this thing
yeah.
that makes men, like the miscreants in our society or something.
Yeah, well, it's funny because when I was talking about it with my wife, she was like, "Well, what if like, what like you used to have anger problems and stuff when I was younger."
Yeah,
She's like, "What if it brings that out in you again?" And I was like, "Honestly, me not having the right hormones is probably making that worse. Like it's
that's
probably
exactly
making
what
me more
happens.
irritable. Like if I'm
Yes.
and I explained that to her. I'm like, "Look, I researched it for like over a year before I decided to do it because I was
Yeah,
like freaked out by it. You know what I mean? I was
yeah.
like, I don't know. I've never done this kind of medicine before. And I even got sinus surgery before I
Mhm,
decided to do it because I had a deviated septum and I had
mhm.
polyps and I had like cysts in my sinuses and all this other stuff. And that was
Yeah,
playing into me like not breathing well and not sleeping well. And I was like, I'm going to do this first and I'm going to see if that improves all these other things and maybe that'll boost these levels and like it helped a little bit maybe but
yeah,
it
yeah.
it definitely did not it
Didn't move
didn't
the needle as much as you
it
needed.
did not,
Yeah,
yeah, and
yeah.
and so I pretty much got like her blessing. She was like, look, whatever is going to be good for you and the family. And I told her, I was like, look, I'm not trying to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like, I just want to
You're gonna take
feel
a
good.
lot more than just TRT to
Yeah,
look
well,
like Arnold.
and I told him, I was like, "I gotta take a lot of other stuff
A
in
lot of
order."
people still think he was, like, all natural and drug-free
Oh, oh,
today. It's like, "Are you
no
kidding me?"
way. He's probably
Yeah,
still not natural, but
yeah. Well, he's at least on TRT, yeah.
yeah, and I try to explain and again, it's not something that I even talk about a lot because so many people, especially like people who work, they're like, "Oh, he's trying to be like this." I'm like, "Bro, I'm
Yeah.
I'm not, dude. I needed to be there for my family. I needed to be there for me. I needed to
Mhm,
not feel like crap." Like the industry that I work in is a very dangerous environment. I need to be here at work to make sure that
mhm.
I'm not doing something stupid that's going to get
Yeah,
somebody killed.
yeah,
And you know, just where I was like, and in my studies, I found that the average like 20-year-old nowadays has the same levels of testosterone as a 60-year-old in the year 2000,
yeah.
which is absolutely insane.
It's
I
crazy.
mean, it's
Yeah.
just progressively gone down every year,
Big
and
time. Yeah.
it's because of well, probably a lot of things, our diet and our environment and
It's a
plastics and
lot.
who knows, you know?
Yeah, I think it's everything. It's diet, I think porn's done a lot of it in the proliferation of porn, and just like unearned dopamine,
Oh
basically.
yeah, yeah,
Like, the just whether it's
screens,
social media or whatever, yeah.
yeah,
And even just a lot of EMF signaling. We're subject to like all these wireless networks and everything. Like all of those play a role in harming
yeah.
that signaling for men.
Yeah,
And like I had the same type of thing. When I got on testosterone, I'd already been lifting for several years.
yeah.
I had drug tested state records in powerlifting. Um, I squatted and deadlifted in the 500s.
Oh, wow.
Like I was pretty strong, and my testosterone was below 300. And I had
Yeah,
exactly what you're describing, like brain fog. I couldn't remember like basic things. I'd be driving. I was tired all the time, like you described. It was
yeah,
really hard to recover from workouts. I would just be sore all the time and
yeah,
just sort of grinding through everything. I couldn't recover. Sleep quality was really low. I remember I talked to a couple of guys that have had this. Maybe you've had this experience. Not that I drive home from work now, but back then I had a job and I would drive home from work, and sometimes I would just have this like mental reset. And all of a sudden I didn't know where I was or like what I was doing. It's like if you walk into a room, you know, you don't
Yes.
know why. It
Yes.
wasn't only that, but like I didn't even know where I was. So I'd like drive and just be like, all right, let's figure this out. So
Yeah.
like
I'm
I'd look
looking
at
at
the
street signs like, wait, where am I?
yeah, I would be like driving on the freeway and like, okay, that's that street. Okay, that's that exit.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I'm probably going home because it's like 5:15. Okay, yeah. So and it'd take me like a minute to like figure out exactly where I was or what I was doing. Like that kind of thing was happening. I
Yeah.
couldn't remember people's names worth anything, like basic things I'd known for years. Like it was
Yeah.
really hard to recall. Um, and I also found that it was just harder to deal with stress. Things like got to
Yeah.
me more. It
Oh,
was way harder. And that totally counteracts, like we were saying, the whole like gym bro, like the rage monster testosterone thing.
yeah.
It's easier for me to be more patient now. It's easier for me to be more mentally sharp. I'm more resilient against stress.
Yeah.
And this has been studied clinically too. Like they found that men with high levels of testosterone tend to be more benevolent, more giving. They're less insecure, so you don't get those types of behaviors, and they're just more patient in general.
Yeah.
Like all the like things that we want men to be good at, it helps.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're actually more apt to lose your temper with low testosterone than to have higher testosterone in general.
Yeah, right, right. And yeah, all of that, everything you said, I pretty much experienced all that. I mean, I will say that I generally suck with names anyway, but but like I could look at somebody and be like, I know that person, and then I
Yeah,
can recall where I know them from and be like,
yeah,
we talked about this
yeah,
like a
yeah,
year ago, like I'll
yeah,
remember the conversation I had with them and the content of it, but I won't remember their name. And
yeah.
that's just kind of always how I've been. But um yeah, the same thing. I mean, there were times where I would get to work and I didn't remember the drive at all as to,
Yeah,
I'm like, I don't even
yeah,
know
I
how I
had the same.
got
Yeah,
here. I have no
yeah,
idea how I even got here. Like, I don't
yeah.
remember. I don't remember turning
It's
off on
almost
my
like you wake
street
up.
or
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like this autopilot thing. It's super strange. But I say all of that just to say that I don't see it as this thing that should be demonized. And
Mm-mm.
I think that as long as the motivation behind it and it's like a prayerful decision, I think that it can be a very good thing.
Yeah.
I like I mean, I feel like I still haven't really truly dialed it in, if I'm being honest. Like I'm
Hmm.
still doing tests and comparing how I feel and like
Hmm.
just comparing all these different levels and whatever. I haven't been on it like
Yeah,
super long, but if
yeah.
anything, my level, I have dropped my dosage. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like they started me, they seem to start everybody at like 200 for whatever reason, but
Yeah, when I
like
work with
a
a
week,
man, I
but
start them really low and we work up over like 6 months usually is what it takes to figure it out.
yeah,
But I
and
always start at like a dose that's way lower than I know they're going to end up
yeah,
because you're so hypersensitive to it. There's side effects you can get.
oh yeah,
And
yeah,
so like a lot of clinics, while it's safe to end up at a very high level, usually with a guy that's just starting out, we just slowly work up over time.
yeah. That's probably the better way to
Yeah,
go. But they were like, let's start
yeah.
at 200 a week and see how it goes. I'm like, okay, not really know much about it, but
Yeah,
at this
it's
point,
usually
I've
too much to start on.
yeah, and it was a good bit, like at this point, I've dropped it significantly because there were other levels that were off, and I was like, well, that's probably
Mhm.
because of this, and I need to drop
Yeah,
this. And I think there's this mentality that everybody's like, oh, the more testosterone, the better, as far as like taking it, and it's like that's not
yeah.
the case,
No,
because
not necessarily.
everybody's
Yeah,
body breaks it down in a
yeah.
different way. Like one guy might require way more,
Mhm.
and his free testosterone is still really low, or
Yeah,
and then he
yeah.
needs to drop and match this thing and that thing. It's just so much to it. It's like this big scientific experiment, but
Yes,
but
yeah.
yeah, like I even remember it was just something I was really struggling with, and I went
Mhm.
to like elders at the church and I was like, look, I need to talk to you about something. I I'm going through this and this I've researched this and I've talked to people and I've looked into this like an insane amount.
Yeah.
And I just like, am I being faithful in this decision? You know what I mean? Like, is it
Mhm.
okay to take this as a Christian? And like, my
Mhm.
one pastor was just like, he was like, "Is it okay for somebody to take insulin when their body isn't producing enough insulin?"
Yeah.
I was like, "I mean, yeah, you pretty
Of
much
course.
have
Yeah.
to at that point." And he's like, "Look, testosterone is a good thing that God has put into men, and that is what sets them apart as men. I mean, not
Mhm.
that's not the only thing, but that's one thing that sets them
Drives
apart."
all the neurological changes that make us different. Our
Yeah,
brains actually work differently from women. It's exposure to higher
right.
levels of testosterone when we're developing.
Yeah, and he made that point, and he's like, he just said, If your body is not doing what it's supposed to do, and it's stopped producing at a certain level, and
Mhm.
and it needs to be higher, and that's why you're not feeling good,
Mhm.
then I don't see any reason and why you can't use it,
Yeah.
because it's medicine, and
Yeah.
God has that is a blessing to the world as modern medicine. And
Yeah.
because I looked at it as everybody else looked at it. I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, you only take this to get super jacked." And I'm like, "That's," you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
that wasn't my goal. Like, I'm going to the
To me,
gym more
that's
and I
like a
have more
nice
motivation.
yeah, to me, that's like the getting you can hold more muscle mass for sure compared to if you were low,
Right.
but I would take it if I didn't get that benefit at all.
Yeah,
If I
right.
just
Yeah,
got
yeah.
all the mental benefits that I've had
Sure.
from it and the better quality sleep and just
Yeah.
feeling better and being more capable as a man,
Yeah.
I'd still take it. Like,
Right.
even if it didn't put any more muscle on me, I'd still
Sure.
take it and I would love it and I'd be very happy.
Yeah, and same here, because
Yeah.
yeah, like mentally, it's totally different. It's a game changer, and like
Yeah.
especially doing this kind of thing. It's like
It's
I
the
got to be
closest
able to
thing we
talk.
sort of have to, like, the fountain of youth, really. Like,
Yeah,
it
yeah,
really does and what's nice is you get to have that presence and capability as a man who's aging, right? Because I don't know, I'm in my late 30s. I'm guessing you're probably similar.
yeah,
Um,
yep, yeah. I'll
like,
be
we're not young.
39 in June. So
Yeah, yeah, so, like, we're not young anymore, but my mind works better in a lot of ways than when I was young because I have a degree of wisdom and experience that I didn't have when I was younger.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't have the energy. I mean, you can't replace 20-year-old energy. I'm not saying that,
no, you're right.
but you do get a taste of that back where you have that capability to push through that you may not have otherwise have, but that's also tempered by years of experience and things like that. And so you kind of get this sort of best of both worlds kind of thing. And the other thing is like men at our ages 50 years ago, they had really high testosterone that's
Right,
on the level of what we're getting it up to.
right, right. Yeah,
And like men were not rage monsters.
no,
It's been, like I said, it's been studied, and even the FDA recently removed a lot of the warnings because they realized those studies were
we're
just
stupid.
were yeah, they were poorly done, poorly
Yeah,
executed. All the stuff about increasing stroke
yeah,
risk and
right,
like blood pressure stuff and like prostate cancers and various other cancers and other things like that. They
right.
removed all of that from the label. The only thing that slightly goes up in risk for men on testosterone, and this is with big numbers, um, is it does seem to slightly increase the risk of stroke, but it's so small, it's even hard to determine like within a tolerance range of like if that's really relevant. And I suspect it's purely because of it can make apnea worse. And I think it's just untreated apnea.
And then I also wonder as well, like in which people, are they the people that are using it in a reasonable medical fashion, or are they the people that are like
Yeah.
pounding 2,000 milligrams a week? You know what I mean? Like
Or
what?
yeah, or that, or what I've also wondered is if they're using it as like a hall pass for like having a bad lifestyle and trying to make themselves feel good anyway.
Yeah, right. Yeah, instead of changing their
Yeah, it's like, well,
lifestyle
I
and
can
just
feel a
like,
little bit better even though I eat a crappy diet. And you still will feel a little better, but you're still not going to feel as good as the man with low testosterone who eats
yeah.
well.
Yeah, you're not going to get all of the benefits. And that's been a big part of changing my diet and stuff too, is
Hmm.
that I'm like, okay, I want to take this to feel better. And I was changing my diet before, so it
Hmm.
wasn't like I wasn't eating like total
Yeah.
crap.
Yeah.
But the taking that and understanding that I'm not going to get all of the benefits if I don't like really make a drastic change, that
Yeah.
definitely gives you the motivation to do that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of there's all kinds of stuff out there, but that's the point that I'm making, is if it's like if I wanted to be this monster gym dude, then I'd be taking a lot more than I take now, and I'd probably
Yeah.
also be on friggin' who knows, HGH and and
Yeah.
trembolone or what, I don't know,
Yeah, I mean,
whatever.
and even like guys that take a lot of testosterone for performance purposes, the risk is really low.
Yeah, it's when you
It's
add
really
everything else.
it's like eating a crummy diet is way worse for you than
Right.
taking like
Yeah.
I would hold that like you could take 2 grams of testosterone a week and it's way less bad for you than like eating like the average American.
Yeah. Well, that makes me think there was this dude this one time I was traveling and I was at an airport somewhere. I was a lot younger, but I have a bunch of tattoos. And so I'm
Yeah.
in this airport and I get into this conversation with this guy. It turns out he's a Christian. And then he starts asking me, like, well, how can you be a Christian with all those tattoos? Right.
Yeah.
And now, mind you, he was eating like a Big Mac or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just look at him like, dude, like you're destroying your guts right now. Like, what are you talking about? What is what's the difference in me having tattoos and you absolutely destroying your colon
Yeah.
with McDonald's right now? I mean, if you're really going to go that route and say be a good steward of your body and make that argument,
Yeah.
then you need to be consistent and come back to me and talk when you're eating like a grilled chicken salad or something, because then maybe
Yeah.
you have a better argument, but right now you're in
Yeah.
just as big a trouble as I am, according to you. But um, yeah, so I would, I just say that because I think there's a lot of people out there that are very reluctant
Mhm.
to like really address things in their life because of maybe some like taboo idea in our culture and
And I
things
think
like
some of it
that.
goes back to Gnosticism that's still in the church too, is just this
Yeah.
like belief that the physical doesn't matter, but
Yeah.
they both matter. Like how you take care of your body
Yeah.
will determine how capable you are to be do all the things you're called to do. That's why I called it high calling fitness. Because
Yeah.
the whole point here is to make it so that the things you're called to do, you're more capable. You're not just, and we're not talking about stewardship in this sort of theoretical sense of like, oh, I'm a better steward. I checked that box. It's like, no, you're a
Yeah.
better steward so that you can do all of those other things that you need to do so that you can be a better mother, father, wife, husband, whatever it might be,
Yeah.
pastor, elder, serve better in your church, serve better in your community. Like all of those things come from. I get to wake up to like messages from my clients about how they like went sledding with their kids and for the first time in years didn't like have their back blown out like the next day or have like pain or
Yeah.
like they did the landscaping in their yard and they expected for their back to be messed up for a couple of weeks and they were like, yeah, it was fine. I couldn't believe it. Or,
Yeah.
actually like sometimes having a baby because they weren't fertile before and things like that's the kind of stuff that we're doing it for. We're not doing it so that we can look better. Like looking better is nice. And again, a
Comes with it,
legitimate way,
but
yeah, it's a legitimate way to serve your spouse. And I do think that does matter. And I'll also
yeah.
say that you're going to get more respect when you're fit. And that's because people will see you and just by looking at you can tell like, well, this guy at least has a sense of discipline that
Yeah.
that shows.
Yeah. You
And
carry yourself in a different way. You
yeah,
look more confident. Yeah. I mean,
yeah, it
it's
helps your witness because it's like, well, these are the people that are like taking care of themselves. And it is a witness and it's a way to have, more influence in the people around you that's positive and more godly than someone who is obviously a slave to their stomach.
right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, just beautifully said there, stated. And there's so much more to it. We could probably talk about this all day. I mean, I know
Yeah.
you could, but
Yeah.
you're in that world.
We'll
But
do another one sometime or something.
yeah,
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 because there's all sorts of cool, like, specific things we could talk about, the ways that you can, like, improve, the way that you feel and your health and everything, like,
yeah.
because there's really specific things that would be yeah, way fun to talk about.
Yeah, no, let's do it because I'm interested. I wanna add to how I feel. I wanna keep feeling better. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
definitely a huge part of how I'm dealing with things in life right now. Is like, how can I feel better about this? How can I? Because again, that's gonna make me better at serving the church. It's gonna make me
mhm,
because I play on the worship team every week, and
yeah,
sometimes I lead Bible studies, and sometimes I do. I'm gonna be teaching like some apologetics stuff coming up
yeah,
for like Sunday school and stuff. It's like I need to be
yeah,
mentally sharp, to be able to
yeah,
do all of those things, and being physically sharp just helps to lead to the mental sharpness, and it's all connected. And
It
so
is.
yeah,
They all relate to each other.
yeah,
We can't compartmentalize the spiritual and the mental and the physical.
yeah,
They all work together. And the way that we do the way that we help the spiritual in all senses is some sort of physical expression. When you
mm,
read your Bible, you're reading a real Bible. When you're
yeah,
praying, you're really talking to God. When you're, studying, you're really studying words on a page. How capable are you going to be at any of those things if you've got brain fog and you're
yeah,
in pain and whatever else the things might be, like you're just super tired all the time? It's not going to be as good. You're not going to be as good at teaching a class at your church.
yeah,
You can't
no,
be dynamic. You can't interact with people the way that you need to. You can't speak with
yeah.
the clarity that you need to if you're diminished mentally, which also will diminish you spiritually.
Yeah, no, that's a really good way to put that. Is you really can't separate the physical from the the
Yeah.
immaterial. It's like
Yeah.
the physical and the spiritual. It's like they run hand in hand. And
Yeah. And then the new heaven and earth will be physical when
right,
like the Bible talks about a bodily resurrection.
right,
We'll just have perfect bodies. But like that's recognized as a gift. We're not going to be some soul floating around in this ethereal state of
yeah,
heaven, some abstract idea. No, it's a
yeah,
place and it's a time, and we'll have
yeah,
bodies that interact. They
yeah,
do matter. And what we're dealing with right now is the taint of sin. But a lot of that taint of sin is, some of that's passed down sort of like genetically through Adam in our
mm,
fallen state.
hmm,
But a lot of it is just like the taint of sin based on like the dumb decisions that we make, usually in
yeah,
ignorance. Because
right,
if you live like a typical American, eating the foods that are typically available to us and the typical lifestyle that is sort of like common, you are not going to be as capable as a Christian. These things like do matter, and that's part of that taint of sin. And to remove it, you have to stop sinning. It involves like part of that, like crucifying your sin is like not overeating. It's not eating the wrong things. It's going to bed on time. It's going to the gym. And then downstream from that, you become more capable at all of the other responsibilities that you have in life.
yeah, yeah. No, absolutely. It's huge. It plays such a big part that you really don't realize until I think you start to implement healthier
Hmm.
lifestyle choices, and then you start to really notice the difference. Like
Yeah.
there's days where like I'm off work Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and so
Yeah.
me and my wife have opposite schedules. She works Monday and Tuesday. we
Okay.
still we still see each other at night, but she works
Yeah.
Mondays and Tuesdays, and so like the kids will be at school on Mondays. And but it's just crazy. Ever since I made all of these changes, it's like before I could not make it through a day without having to take a nap or go to sleep or something.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
and now I'm like, okay, I went to the gym, and I came home and I cooked and I ate. I did a podcast episode. I did a bunch of laundry. I did the dishes. I picked the kids up from school. I did the trash at the school,
Yeah.
to help them. I came home and I made them dinner and did their homework.
Yeah.
It's like even if you don't notice this crazy shift in life, when I start thinking about the things that I'm able to accomplish in a regular day now versus what I
Yeah.
could before, it's night and day.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's crazy. I would have never been able to get all of that done
Yeah.
in a normal day before. So,
Yeah, like I wouldn't be capable to do the things that I do. I
yeah.
have multiple businesses. I
Oh
have,
yeah.
a lot of clients in both those businesses, and I'm serving them in very, very different ways.
Mhm.
And I wouldn't be able to help answer their questions. I wouldn't be able to help guide them. I wouldn't be able to help manage the things that I manage for them and everything else.
Yeah.
And to be like do what I need to do for my business partners, and and also the other guys like that work at Dominion, support them that the way that they need, and be there for my coaches and put out the material that I put out, for people to help people.
Mm.
If I didn't, if I was in terrible shape and had brain fog and everything else, I'd be back to like just trying to survive in, a desk job or something.
Yeah. 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 And that would just be making it worse. You're just sitting there sedentary all day and
Yeah.
not
Yeah. I mean that, yeah, like that, but that's what a lot of men, I think they get to our age. By the time they're our age, they're just trying to survive the day and get home from work.
yeah.
And then like there's nothing left
Yeah.
once it's time to be there for their wife and their children.
I
They're
know.
spent.
I know. And I was there. I was there 100,
Hmm.
and I know that feeling. It sucks. It's not
Yeah.
fun. It is
Yeah.
not fun, but
Yeah, and it
yeah,
doesn't
like
have to be that way. I think a lot of people
yeah.
feel hopeless, like, "Oh, this is the way it is," and it's like, "No."
Yeah.
It might be the way that it is, but it doesn't have to be that way. Like, there
Right.
is hope here. It's going to
Yeah.
take work and everything, but like, you know, obvious shameless plug, like, we can help with that. That's what we do, because
Yeah.
like, we
Yeah.
want men and women to be able to be better, like with their families, better at everything else. But that's what it takes. And
Yeah.
you might not know what those first steps look like. You have to start today. There's no better time than today. And it doesn't have to be everything all at once. Maybe you start with just this meal. Maybe you start with walking. Maybe you start with the gym. Start at any one of those things and show up, and then start layering on, adding those other pieces to the
Yeah.
puzzle that
Yeah.
make you better and better.
Right. Yeah. I always, it just plays into the small victories, like my
Yeah.
son, he'll get really overwhelmed with a school project or something.
Hmm.
And I don't know. I remember hearing that statement, like, how do you eat an elephant? Like
Yeah.
one bite at a
One
time.
bite.
And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just tell him, I'm like, you have to just approach everything just from the very foundational level, like one
Yeah.
bite at a time. Just go at it. Eventually it'll come together and you'll get it done. And
Yeah.
it's just something I'm trying to instill into them, especially in our world, because we live in such a just instant gratification
Hmm.
world. You order something on
Yeah.
Amazon, and it might even come the same day as when you ordered it, or you want
Yeah.
to look up some information. You don't have to go to the library anymore and rent
Yeah.
or like take out a book or whatever. You look it up on Google and you find it, or you chat GPT it, or
Yeah.
whatever. Like, everything is just so instant. And I think in some ways it's cool, but in other ways it has been very detrimental to our
I think
minds,
so. Yeah. There's like a lot of unearned gratification out
Yeah.
there. And that's
Yeah.
not what God designed for us.
Yeah. And like you said earlier, it's like unearned dopamine. It's like
Yeah.
you used to have to go outside, do something, play a sport, or go to the gym, or
Yeah.
whatever it is to get that dopamine. And now we just doom scroll on TikTok or whatever it is that we're doing.
Yeah.
And that's just constantly feeding this dopamine in. And I heard somebody recently say, I don't remember who it was, but they said that I think they were talking about a study that showed that boredom is actually really good for you, because it
Hmm.
rewires your brain receptors
Hmm.
to basically I forget how he put it, but it was
It
basically
allows your
something to do
brain
with
to
like,
process,
yeah,
basically,
it was
like
something to do with the
all of
dopamine.
its
Yeah.
experiences.
Yeah, right,
That's
right.
basically like, you need time to just go for a walk
Yeah.
and not be listening to a podcast. Like, I think there's a tendency for us to walk around and just have inputs all the time. But you
Yeah,
need
yeah.
those times when your mind can be quieted
Yeah.
and you can go for a walk, you can sit, whatever that might look like. You do need those times for the brain to process and to not
Yeah.
be chasing dopamine all the time, and to just allow the brain to process the memories, process thoughts. Those things happen subconsciously.
Yeah.
And without that, you do wind up, I think, with basically a software that's disordered.
Yeah. Yeah, I read this book called The Wisdom Pyramid, and he talks about how the average, well, maybe not the average human everywhere, but the average person in America consumes more content in a single day
Mm,
than we did 100 years ago in a year.
I believe it. Yeah.
Like, it's just
Yeah.
like our brains were not meant to take in that much information, and
No.
it's
Well, it's
it's
not even real
impossible.
information most of the time. It's just
Yeah.
entertainment. It's very little of it
Right,
is
right, yeah.
actual real information that's usable.
Yeah.
Like, is this going to help you? Are you
Right, yeah.
like, how much scrolling do you have to do to learn something?
Quite a bit, unless
A
it's like,
lot. Yeah. Yeah, a lot.
yeah, unless you come across that one, like, lengthy video
You
that's
get the little
actually teaching you
nugget, but yeah,
yeah.
like, how many hours did you scroll to get that nugget? You're like, "Oh yeah, that'll help me."
Yeah, yeah, I just scrolled for 4.5 days to learn about how to make spaghetti better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good
Like,
thing.
ah, that's crazy, but yeah. Yeah, man, we'll have to do this again sometime, talk about,
Yeah.
like what you were talking about, just the specifics on how to feel better and things like that, so,
Yeah.
but, where can, people that aren't familiar with you, where
Yeah.
can they find you? I know you have Dominion Wealth Strategies and you have High Calling Fitness.
Yeah.
I don't know what else you do, if you do other things, but what where can people find you online if they want to look up those things and get
Yeah.
coaching?
Yeah, highcallingfitness.com is a way to find our website, and you can book a meeting with one of the coaches there, and just talk to us. And it's a half hour, no charge for that, and just kind of do an introduction. And you can also find me on Instagram at holy_quadfather. Yeah. And then for Dominion, reformed.money is an easy way to find the website. We got that one locked down, so I was pretty proud that that domain was available. So reformed.money there. And I am also involved in somewhat in 1689 cigars and Dort.
Oh, really?
So yeah, Dort.store, 1689cigars.com, and 1689 Armory as well for body armor.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I've heard of the body armor thing, and I've seen 1689 cigars. I think Keith Foskey was touting those. So that's pretty cool. That's funny. That's pretty awesome. Cool. Well, I mean, everybody check those things out then, get fit, hit up Justin at High Calling, get your money in order, smoke some cigars. I don't know, do all the things.
Yeah. we'll get your wallet and your body fit.
There you go. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. But I really appreciate you taking the time, man. I know you got to be insanely busy because you just said all the things that you're involved in. And,
it's a full life, but I love it. It's good.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. So thanks for coming on and having this discussion. I thought it was awesome. We touched on all kinds of stuff. It was really cool, cool talk. And
thanks for having me on. This is great.
Of course, anytime. And maybe we'll do it again in the future here. But anybody watching, listening, as usual, always be ready to give a reason for the hope that is in you, and do that with love and respect. And I appreciate you supporting the channel and always coming back. So thank you for that.